here at Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. Welcome to another edition of 10 Count. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Michael Baca and Doug Fischer. This Saturday night from the Fantasy Springs, it's the return of Boxing After Dark, and we have a pair of super featherweight battles. For the WBC Junior Lightweight title, Francisco Vargas defends against Miguel Berchelt, and Miura takes on the rugged Mickey Roman. Doug, you will be ringside. You're working the HBO international broadcast. Out of these two co-mains, which one has the more viable chance of an upset special occurring?
Ooh, I'm going to go with the main event. I'm going to go with Berchelt over Vargas, if there is an upset. I'm not predicting an upset. I'm not, putting out an upset special out there. But I do think it's possible, just given the amount of damage that Francisco Vargas has taken in his last two fights. That fight with Takashi Miura last year was insane. I'm sorry, not last year, 2015.
Yeah.
He took unbelievable punishment in that, and I don't know how Vargas and Orlando Salido fought the 12 rounds that they did this past June. His face, it showed on his face, and I think he's at a point now. I think he's hit his ceiling as a fighter, and whenever he's in a tough fight, that face is going to come apart. He's going to cut, he's going to swell. Now, the good news is he can take a shot, but I'll tell you what, Berchelt's power is real. He hasn't beaten anybody of note. He hasn't knocked out any legitimate top 10 contenders, but people from around the gyms and people that I know that are very familiar with the Mexican boxing scene, they tell me that the kid has a lot of natural ability. He's an underrated boxer. He's very rangy for his weight. He can stick and move, but he delivers a lot of power, and he's a pretty decent in-fighter as well. And he's got good momentum. He's been knocking out a lot of guys, so he's going to bring a lot of confidence into these rounds. And I really think his best shot is to kamikaze Vargas, to go out there and hurt him early, try to actually hurt him, but while you're hurting, go to work on those eyes, cut him up, and maybe you can even get a technical stoppage.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this fight last night, and I wanted to ask you two, considering you've been in this sport much longer than I have, would it be unprecedented for Francisco Vargas to have 3 straight Fight of the Year contenders?
Hold on. 2 names, Arturo Gatti and Michael Katsidis.
Yep.
They each had stretches during their primes where every single time they went out, it was at least top 3 or 4 for that year. Francisco Vargas, there's that old saying, it's not if you face a fighter, it's when. And I've used this analogy before, way back when we were doing The Next Round. One of my favorite movies, The Blues Brothers. Remember that old car went all the way through Chicago after the big concert, then they get to the city hall, or they have to pay that.
After this crazy epic police chase.
And then all of a sudden the car just falls apart.
Explodes apart. Yeah.
And John Belushi got very misty-eyed. Like, there goes his car. It just died. That could be Francisco Vargas.
Yeah.
He could literally be that car as soon as you park it, because we've seen primes come to an end. And Francisco Vargas has a very youthful-looking face. You think, wow, this guy's in his, 27, 28? He's above 30.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
He was an amateur for a very long time. Yeah. He turned pro in his 20s. He was a prospect at age 26, 27. So, yeah, there's some wear and tear in there. He's been in some tough fights, particularly his last 2. Like I said, he's proven that he's got heart. If he gets knocked down as he was against Takashi Miura, he's going to get up, and he's going to get up swinging. If he gets busted up, if he spills blood, if one of his eyes are closed, he's he's the quintessential Mexican blood and guts warrior. But everybody hits their limit. At some point, even Arturo Gatti was turning away from punishment. Yeah,
and they don't just kind of steadily descend. They fall off a cliff. And Mike, what do we know about Miura post-November 2015?
We don't know anything. Because he hasn't fought a viable opponent.
Right.
I think he fought maybe once in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, against a stiff.
Yeah, exactly. But he's still a very good fighter, at least going into this Saturday night. Mickey Roman is, I guess, he's a very weathered guy. He's got a lot of fights under his belt.
Rugged veteran is the euphemistic way of saying it.
He's on a decent win streak, which is why he's highly ranked in the WBC.
Yeah, 15 in a row, 13 knockouts or something like that.
He's been a popular fighter in Mexico, a popular TV fighter in Mexico for almost 10 years, and he's been involved in Fight of the Year candidates himself.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a barn burner in, I think it was El Paso,
on
Texas,
ESPN
against
years
Antonio
ago.
Escalante?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
So,
long
I mean,
time
if
ago.
you put him in tough, and you know he's just a come forward fighter. If you put him in there with somebody with the same mentality as we have with Miura, he makes for sensational fights.
Miura's one of these veterans. If he's on that ledge, sometimes you got to have the temerity just to push him off by being very aggressive.
Steve, he has just as much wear and tear as Francisco Vargas. See, there was the fight with Vargas, and then a year or two before the Vargas fight, he traveled to Cancun, Mexico, and fought Sergio Yayo Thompson. And they tried to kill each other for 12 rounds. In fact, he was hospitalized right after that fight because of liver damage. That's how hard they were going to each other's bodies.
You know, the WBC edict and the Golden Boy plan is for the winners of these two fights to meet. Now, let's say it's Chalk City that Francisco Vargas and Tak Miura win. I'll be honest, though. Guys, I'd rather see Vargas Salido again. Yeah. I think, to me, that's Star Wars that needs to turn into The Empire Strikes Back. In other words, sometimes sequels are a very good thing.
Yeah.
As is Blood and Guts.
And he'll be
that's
there
what we're going to get with that matchup.
Yeah, he'll be there ringside, and I'm sure he'll take on basically any winner that comes out of this doubleheader on HBO.
The 130 class, there's a lot of talk that Vasil Lomachenko will take on Jezreel Corrales, who has a WBA belt. I think Jason Sosa has turned into a very solid prize fighter.
Yep.
You have the Tank out of Maryland, Mr. Davis. I love this division. I would hope, and I think this will be a harbinger of how well everyone is willing to work with one another. There's a lot of fights to be made at junior lightweight, guys.
I agree. Even if you look all the way like number 9, number 10, number 11 rated contenders, you got guys like Tevin Farmer, who
Tricky.
Yeah,
Crafty.
tricky, talented, on a win streak. That's what I like about a lot of these guys. They've got some good wins under their belt. They have momentum and they have confidence. And even the guys who have lost recently, like Uchiyama and Miura, we know they're badasses.
And you know what? Put him in the right fight. I am not against being Betty Ford and rehabbing Nicholas Walters. I'm just saying, I think on that particular night, he was so bedazzled or just befuddled.
He was
or whatever.
just outclassed.
He just said, you know what, screw it. But you put him in against the guy that's going to be there. I think the Axeman, again, everyone gets a mulligan. He had a terrible night. I don't know where his mental state is, but let's give him one more shot. Because, you know what, I'm a forgiving guy in 2017, and that is my New Year's
There's
resolution.
one more guy we haven't mentioned yet who's just signed by Golden Boy Promotions today, Yuriorkis Gamboa.
And how much faith do you have in that, though? That's the problem.
He's going to get a fight, though.
He is. Well, he was added to the March 11th Boxing After Dark show. He should beat Rene Alvarado. The question is, though, Mike, you look at the track record of Gamboa. Boy, he's a flighty, flaky guy, though.
If he's willing to fight, he's a welcome addition to the 130-pound weight class.
All right, well, that's it for this segment of 10 Count. On behalf of Michael Baca and Doug Fischer, this is Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.